So basically, today's topic that I'm going to be discussing is going to be time, which is a very important thing and underpins most, if not everything, um, in which we undertake, and it's very important just to the further progression of whatever it is that a person seeks to achieve. Um, it's one of those things that's fundamental to self progression, self understanding. Um, and also self enlightenment as well, because it really enables us to perceive and in a and appropriately understand the dimension in which we inhabit, and there's a bunch of things associated with it, you know, in relation to the mechanics of the human body. And not only that, but it also goes into the psychological aspect of it. So from my perspective of things, like, I have a lot of videos, a lot of things that I've done um, in the past, and most of them are just like pretty much all over the place in relation to what it is that they're actually conveying in relation to the message, etc. So some of them I've put to private, but as you can see, there's about 100 videos here that I've done, um, which cover just random things, right? But then again, at the same time, I think that in understanding my perception of time at that particular point in my developmental process, why things are so all over the place in essence, right? So here I'm talking about thoughts, here I'm talking about orbital distance. I go over different things, geometry, numbers, thoughts, and sexuality, etc. I'm talking about different programming language, different certification processes, different games, and everything is just like all over the place. But this is because of a lack of focus and a lack of understanding in relation to what it is exactly that the message I'm trying to convey. And without that appropriate understanding and that appropriate harnessing of time, it's quite difficult to actually implement and achieve things and set appropriate goals that will be in line with what it is that you want to get out of um, the the day, or what it is that you want to get out of um, your particular action. So with time, you can harness your energy more appropriately if you have a better understanding of it. And basically, um, I talk about a bunch of different things, but the point is that they should be more focused, more understanding, more goal oriented, and having a good perception of time enables you uh, to achieve that in essence, right? So if you look at time, we sort of see back in the past that like one of the first time recording or time taking devices was Adam's calendar. Though there's been many variations, it's actually the first one was in the was in the biology of humanity, but that's beyond the point. Um, Psychologically speaking, in essence, this was one of the first ones, which is one of a freaky one because if you look at it, it doesn't really look like much. If you ever get a chance to go visit it, it's called Adam's calendar. And it's pretty much bizarre in essence. It doesn't really look like much, but I assume it uses the sun to perform some type of analysis of the point in day, and then use that information to perform whatever tasks that people had for that particular moment in time, whether it be rituals or whatever the case may be, right? Which is pretty cool and decent in itself, but it's probably lost its meaning over a period of time, whether or not those records, not really sure about what occurred with them, but I believe that whoever saw value in them probably gleaned and took a deeper understanding from it. Like, if you look at the geometry associated with it as well from above, it makes sense. They used to do some freaky stuff back then, basically, in regards to time and other things. Which is key, and then from then on, this year would measure in a specified ununderstood intervals of time. There wouldn't be as they were pretty broad intervals, in essence. And so this here is a hourglass, which is a more accurate perception of measuring time in a finer grain methodology, or to be more fine detailed in relation to how that particular task is actually carried out. Though this was only limited, the one design flow it had was that it was only limited to an hour, so it could only measure an hour per instance of time, which again at the same time somewhat limits things. And it was also by eye that you had to do the measurements. So you could try to measure for half an hour, but again it just enabled that having that extra control over that aspect of reality, or that aspect of time, in order to achieve your goals, by being able to set reasonable estimations, or at least develop the capabilities of setting reasonable estimations in relation to the things that you had to do, etc. And I know that it seems like back then they didn't really have much expectations to set, but it was a useful tool for a multitude of things, whether it be just measuring distance traveled, the time it takes, and then being able to relay that information to kings and queens, etc., or the higher up authorities, in order for them to have that understanding of how long it would take to carry out a particular journey, thus enabling them to be better, to set better strategy, etc., and other things. But there's been a multitude of other time measurement devices out there that will enable a greater awareness in relation to the tasks and goals that one has to achieve. This here is another type of time measurement device, which is a bit more different. It enables the person to have that understanding of, is designed as opposed to the hourglass. It's much more refined because you get more time. You get, for example, near enough 100 minutes, or 99.99 seconds, or minutes and seconds, etc. And that enables you to basically, track time in a different manner. You can count up, you can count down, and it definitely improves productivity in one sense or another. It definitely enables one to have that understanding of a budget in relation to the time that you have, and how to utilize that appropriately. And also looking at the design of the system, when you really think about it, it's designed pretty well. It does have some limitations as well, in that you're limited to having a better understanding of tracking what it is that you're actually seeking to track, and utilizing what it is you're looking to get out of that, which is one of the sort of issues associated with it. But again, it's a really cool device. It's great. It's got a magnetic tracker, and just basically gives you, the ability to slice and track time appropriately, which is key to most, if not to most things, because having that awareness as well enables you to have that extra degree. Having that awareness as well enables you to have that extra degree of focus in relation to what you're trying to achieve. And basically, this here is the time ruler, which is also a bit different in relation to time. It enables you to track time, but it builds on what on what this digital productivity timer has, in that it enables you to have that capability of being able to track time in a more efficient and fluid manner. So for example, you get actionable data insights, you get accurate, if you want to build people, etc. You get easy time tracking. You get like a proper dashboard that you can utilize, and you also have a tracker there. You also get a tracker. Just so this here is a device of a tracker which has Bluetooth. You attach the tracker to your device, and then you pretty much make use of it in relation to what it is you want to do. You label the sides, and basically based on a gyroscope inside the device, the device itself has then the ability to be set and configured in a multitude of ways, and then it feeds back that information onto the dashboard, right? And then the dashboard can either have attached to teams that enable you to have that ability to track times and insights, and also gives you the ability to measure and track what it is that you've been doing and how you've been doing it, etc., over that period of time, which is a very, very powerful feature and very advanced in my point of view. So I've got like kind of insights for times to clean and things like that, which is also very relevant and important. Um, and it supports varying devices and various different integrations as well, which is amazing, right? So it's a very powerful tool. This is a dashboard which looks really great. You can label them as you wish and have that ability to actually track things in an amazing and efficient way, and you can add tags as well, which also helps you track exactly what it is that you're doing in a specified period of time. It's a beautiful thing. Definitely, I don't know how well it'll adapt in teams at work and stuff like that, because people might feel that it wouldn't be ideal for work. I think most people will be a bit iffy about it. But I think in companies where you have more flexible time and that you can work at whatever time periods that suit you, regardless if you're working remotely, etc., it'll be amazing. Whereas like if you're actually just 9 to 5, I probably would not recommend this. But for teams that work dynamically, like just you do these hours per week or per month, etc., and do them however way you please, and just make sure that that those hours are logged. That would be this should be a perfect thing for teams like that. But I don't think it'll work for 9 to 5 management type of methodology. But I think it's amazing in terms of the capabilities it offers and the possibility in terms of time tracking that it adds, in regards to what the other things didn't have. It adds that extra mental capability to be able to actually perform those tasks. But the only downside with it, though, from my perspective of things, is that it's the shape of the device. It's powerful and everything, but what happens is, because I actually have one of these as well. Let's see where you somewhere around here. But basically, what happens is that what it does is that, like, if you lose this, you're pretty much fudged. If you lose this little device here, the little holder from which you can hold it, you're pretty much fudged after that. So it doesn't really help that much. So all this is all multi-dimensional aspects of things. Yeah, pretty much. So if you lose this here, you are pretty much fudged in relation to what it is that you're trying to do, because you won't have a way to set it when you're not using it. It'll always be set to something. So maybe if you want to continue using it, I think one of the tactics there would be just to have one side where it's set to not tracking, but it's actually tracking. But though you track the times when you're not actually tracking things, which means that you lose one of the sides that you can actually use. That's yeah, battery per recharge 6 months. That's hazy. I don't. Oh, is this the new ones? It's 8 sides, so you lose and you only have one. So you lose one side, and then you only have 7 sides, which is pretty good, which is pretty decent. So you have the sides, and then the sides define. They then track and automatically log what's happening into the actual device itself, and you can have them pretty broad. So if it's, for example, coding or taking a phone call, you can then put like the tags as to what project it is that you're working on, or what phone call it is that you're currently taking. You can track all those things there, which would be you have the ability to be able to track those things there, which is pretty cool in essence. So I think this is actually the new cube. But I have one of the older ones there. But I think the dock is the only thing that thing, because I lost the dock. So when I lost the dock, it made it quite difficult to actually utilize the device. effectively. But from my perspective of things, I would love this, or if somebody can create like a time protocol. I don't know if anyone can do that. That makes it to be able to use any one of these interfaces appropriately with the devices. So looking at this here, um, this is a design that I would have loved for the Timula system, simply because I feel that with this, the ability that you actually have is that you have the capability of actually um, for example, if they had one of these that could be programmed similar to time units, so maybe in Rust or something, or and then what you do is you have the button, but maybe you have this button, that button, and another button here. And then what happens is that you can change the modes. So maybe let's say there's like 5, 6, 7, or even 8 modes, right? And then those modes and then you have another button, probably maybe at the back, that helps connect it to Bluetooth. Connected to a device where then there'll be an interface. And then what you then have is that you have the different modes that help you set, like you press like a button once, twice, 3 times, whatever, and that button basically sets the mode in relation to, for example, a topic or something that you're doing, or a subject. So for example, as you see here, as you see the timer I had, like for example, activities, or 8 activities. Instead though, you have like a button that changes the mode, and the mode reflects on the screen here somehow. Maybe like because again, I think the digital display as well limits the amount of things they can have. But maybe you can just have like another little light here or something that says one of the modes. So maybe it could be even a color, or it could be even like a number or something that sets a mode. And then basically what you have then is that you have the ability to then be able to use this similar to a timer device, and you be able to pretty much track exactly the same way as this pretty much works, as a countdown. And I think that would have been better for me personally. I would have appreciated that way more, because I feel not to say that the timer is negative or bad or anything, but I feel that way would have given me a bit more control in relation to what it is that I'm trying to achieve. It would give me a bit more granularity, especially like for example when cooking. Well, maybe not when cook. Well, yeah, well maybe even when cooking, it just helps me be able to set that time and have that countdown. Instead of the timer, which sort of just counts up until you feel you're ready to end a particular task. This way you can sync it directly with your calendar objects. But I guess at the same time, again, you should be tracking your calendar objects regardless of the situation or whatever it is that you're doing. So maybe there's not really a design requirement for that. But from my perspective, I just feel like that way would have been so much better for me, because then even if I lose the docking, I don't have to dock it. I can just turn the modes on, off, and basically enable different modes, or trackers, and they have Bluetooth as well. It could also have a battery for the price as well. It's like it could also have a battery, a rechargeable battery, Bluetooth, and a bit of code, and just the LEDs. You have maybe like an extra function that defines what mode it's in, whether be it probably like just like an extra bit of or even at the bottom here, an extra bit of a strip of light that just defines the mode, and have an extra button to switch between the modes, and have a button either to the right over here or to the back that actually allows you to connect to Bluetooth, and probably just one flashing light here for Bluetooth. That just lets you know when you've connected to Bluetooth. And I think like that would have been a perfect design, because I really love it. I really like this device, but I just feel that like I wish it had the tracker or had the ability, because you can't just add. The like what Time Wheeler have is amazing. So I feel like if Time Wheeler changed the design or had an alternative tracker such as that would be beautiful. Because you can't just create this design on this UI. This UI here is an amazingly designed UI, highly functional, highly highly data centric, and also collaborative in relation to the things you can do and what you can achieve with it. So I think that's really cool. It's got tags and stuff, which is all amazing, which enables you to be able to filter through the data more appropriately and see exactly what it is that's going on. And for managers, that'd be amazing, especially remote team managers. Like if I was a remote worker manager, and I worked in a company that was flexible in relation to the timing methodologies as to how the work is actually carried out. Like it wouldn't be good for shift work type of stuff, but it would be good for like dev teams or agile teams in one sense or another. That'd be like that's what basically the Time Wheeler interface is beautiful for, and is amazing for. You can even export the data as well. Like, can you imagine that? That's amazing stuff. But then having that ability to the device too, I just wish the device was a bit more like how I described it, as a key to the productivity hack clock. So yes, I just wish the device was a bit more like this, and just like a bit more as I described it there. So this is basically how time tracking has evolved, and this has occurred quite rapidly as well, to be frankly honest. And you can see how we've broken various barriers in order to achieve a more finer grain methodology around these features here, and it just helps you achieve and do the things that you wanted, that you need to do. And I know it's difficult, because again at the same time it's like you got to invest those things to make yourself who you need to be or who you want to be. You got to manage that time appropriately, and that's a difficult thing. That's never really easy, in my opinion of things. But then again, so that's the multi-dimensional things, but it actually doesn't stop there, because we can actually go one step further, which is the other dimension, the last dimension around it, which is around sort of like time utilization and time management methodology. So this is near L, and I first met him, or I first found out about him via various books, etc., and also including some of the Hooked book. I'd seen it around, but I never really investigated him until I seen him on Mental Box and a few other online platforms where he's written articles and spoke about different things such as Curio and Mind Valley as well. I seen him there, but I sort of took major interest in him nearly enough on via Mental Box, and also just like seeing his face around, especially in relation to time management, etc. So with Indestructible, Hooked talks about how you can glean time, or how you can make better use of, because time is about its attention at the end of the day. That's the thing that we're trying to manage here, is attention to do the things that you want to do. And this is the higher dimension of it. This is the overall well, this is actually pretty good, because you get some of the course content as well. So when you do one of these courses here, you get a workbook and other things. My login is not currently functional because I haven't really used it in a bit. But again, he's definitely one of those people that goes above and beyond to make sure that people have an understanding around time and other things. So here you can see the book Indestructible, how to control your attention and choose your life, right? That's important, Because if you value your time, your focus, or your relationships, this book is essential reading. I'm putting these ideas into practice. Because that's the thing, right? It's taking that extra level of, yeah, you've got the tools now, and now you can utilize those tools in order to better govern what it is you're trying to do, and actually have that methodology from a higher level perspective, 3-dimensional aspect, especially around the physical, mental, and spiritual. And I feel this really helps bridge the gap between those things. I think this will probably be more in tune with the spiritual aspect, I would like to say, as opposed to the mental, because the mental is more sort of the tracking ability. The physical is actually the doing, and the spiritual part is actually having that understanding of this. It's the formation and the harnessing of energy to achieve particular tasks and goals. And so I think the indestructible methodology. So you can follow him on all those platforms that I mentioned. Mental Box. I'm sure you probably, if you're into any sort of self-development stuff, you've definitely probably heard of him before, or probably heard of some of his content. Or if you're into like any sort of app, product design, etc., you would have heard about Hooked and things of that nature. Which again, there's a few other similar one, like I think it's Contagious as well as another book that's useful for that type of stuff, similar to Hooked. But this one here, there's not many like this one here, the indestructible one, which really enables you to take that time management a step further. I believe this guy here is the master of that. And the content, being indestructible is essential skill for, because it is, with computers and technology and stuff, it's a highly bizarre. Everything is quite advanced in one sense or another, or one sense or in one nature. We're not really aware, because this hasn't really happened that much before in human history, and this is happening pretty much now to us in relation to actually how we keep our attention, how it is we stay focused, and what it is that's going on around us as we utilize this technology, the ability to watch different shows, for example Netflix, that accessibility to Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, etc. This we have games, we have all sorts of things going on, and and we're not aware of these things, that is how they impact our time and how they impact our actual being. So having that ability to be able to harness that is a key thing, and it's one of the key fundamental spiritual things, right? So I see a lot of people as well, like there's all this like spirituality going on, but we don't really understand, because to be spiritual in a modern age, you need to be able to effectively integrate yourself into society in one sense or another. Like if you have like a like markets, like I'm not gonna go into like things like like just how to appropriately spiritually integrate yourself into modern life. But in today's age, spirituality can't be just reserved for monks and things of that nature, who have a daily way of living that's adaptable, that's worked for them for years, right? Whereas us in this modern environment, we don't have that, so we have to adopt it differently. We have to operate differently, as opposed to what other individuals in other environments that have accustomed methodology of living, that have that ability to be able to introspect and meditate and tackle spirituality different. We have to do it a bit more differently, and one of the most important things is actually taking the time to control your attention and to actually choose your life. Taking the time. Once you have this, you have a better understanding of meditation. You have a better understanding of actually what it is that's relevant, what it is that's important. And these skills are vital to really being successful and really having that ability to fully grow and develop in a fruitful manner, without feeling like other people are controlling you, without feeling like your managers are controlling your time, without feeling like like things are out of your control. You can take control of that and you can harness that power. And once you have that power, you feel more fulfilled, you feel more in control, and you feel more in charge. There's other things as well, like that we gotta handle. But once you have this, even if you're working remotely, for example, it really helps because it enables you to be. It enables, the distraction part is the thing, is one of the key things. So it enables you to have that power of being, in control as to also how you work. Because when you work, right, you don't want to bump off. You don't want to be a bad employee. You actually want to be good and be grateful in relation to the work that you're doing, and actually be consciously there. Because if you're being distracted, especially while working at home as well, right, that's one of the other things as well. Because if you're being distracted, then you start disliking the job. You start disliking what you're doing, and you don't want that. What you want to actually be able to say, cool, this is the work that I'm doing. I'm doing this work because of this, and to not be distracted as well is one of the key things there. It's like to be fruitful, to have energy, and energy is involves a lot of things, especially around the mental, the psychological aspect. It goes into it, and they discussed it in the book. Things like reimagining the task, because the way that you think about the work that you're doing really affects your outcome, and also how you feel doing the task, and also how time moves as you're doing the task as well, which is key. So if you do some of these things, you'll be better suited. You'll see that time won't drag. You won't feel lazy to do the things. So basically, there's a bunch of different things. Is basically the thing that I'm trying to say here. And having these tools and having this access to this knowledge and information would greatly improve what it is that you can actually do and what it is that you can achieve. Is basically what the gist that I'm trying to give there, and I feel as though that will actually be one of the fundamental things. And I feel like this is one of the final, or at least for the present day, and up to a few decades maybe, this is one of the things that will be fundamental to being fruitful, and also to our time, and how we do things and how we achieve things, because there's no reason why you shouldn't have control of yourself, and why you shouldn't have the power to choose. It's just that inability, or access, or that lack of knowledge, is what probably prevents that. And it's not because that it's just it hasn't been made available to you at this present, or it has been made available, but it just, you probably just haven't found it. And that's another reason why it's important to share information, to share knowledge, because again, at the same time, the more people that have access to this, the more things are able to be done, and the more things are able to be achieved overall. Because again, at the same time, you never know, you never know who could utilize this information to make themselves more productive, and we never know what that work could actually bring, or what that could actually entail overall. So that's one of the fundamental things as to how this can service all of humanity. But just as a point, because you never know yourself, you might have passions and things that will be so much more beneficial to other people, and having access to this information, to this knowledge, in this current day and age, in our modern society way of living, would enable you and others to be fruitful, and to be amazing in what we do, and to have that power and control. And basically that's the gist of the message that I was trying to give today, and just sort of outline and give an understanding as to how time has progressed. And this guy is a master at understanding the utilization of time through attention, which is important, because that's the key thing that underpins most, if not everything, that we do in this day and age. And yeah, that's pretty much that, really. So thank you for listening, and I hope you take this advice, you look at these devices, and I hope that something similar will come, because I can't be bothered to make something like that. I feel as though I'll be taking or doing something negative in relation to the timeline design system, but I believe somebody else can do that. I don't really have, again, the time, the methodology to be creating that type of user interface and doing all that rusty stuff, or doing Rust, etc. And all that type of stuff. But for the time being, but I'm hoping that maybe if time will think about it, or enable some type of the ability to have that, would be pretty cool. But yeah, I used the Timeline Cube for a while, and it was great. It was amazing. But again, like I said, once you use the docking station, you're pretty much F. But yeah, feel free to try out those stuff as well, those tools. They'll be beneficial, and definitely, if you want to access those dimensions, those higher dimensions, and really crack on to enable yourself into those access into those higher realms, definitely look into these things, and they'll help you do that and achieve that. So yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Have a nice day or evening, wherever it is that you may be. Take care. Bye.